you. Good morning, everybody. Um, I sort of have a August 20th addition to my April meeting because things have changed, but not really radically. So the thing that is most exciting, I mentioned Aurocast back in April, and it seems that actually there are venues now using it, and people are really excited. And in case you sort of reminder what an Aurocast is, basically you have your own intranet set up with a transmitter. So, for example, if you're in church, for $50 you can, get the transmitter, and everybody in church, either with hearing aids or even with earpods, will be able to hear the sermon directly from the pulpit as you speak. Now, the venue that appeared someplace first was in a railroad station in, I think, Tennessee, and people were really excited about it. So again, it's very inexpensive, and all you need is you can buy it at Amazon, a transmitter, and tell your audience that, you know, we have Aurocast, and you can just, if you're wearing anything on your ears, you can just dial in and listen. It's really going to revolutionize things, in my opinion. So,
a question about that. Have you actually experienced it?
I did not, but I have seen video that people have experienced it.
Okay.
And as again, the cost is $50 for a transmitter. And so, I plan to talk to my pastor at St. Bridget's to see if he's interested in doing it.
This is basically making it so that more than one Bluetooth client can interact and connect with the server. And I wonder whether there's there's a corresponding price depending upon the number of clients that can join in on one Bluetooth server.
I have not heard about the cost being, appropriate to number of people listening.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but if anybody in the group kind of wants to play with it, that would be great, and I'd like to hear the results. So anyway, but that's the biggest thing that is happening. The other, very important thing is that the the counter market has blossomed, and I'm sure that the majority of you have seen ads on your messaging, YouTube or any place else you see people advertising over the counter hearing aids, and the cheapest one I guess I've seen for $50 or $49. And then, of course, the price goes up. As the price goes up, you don't see the price advertised anymore. So that's, that should tell you something. I was disappointed. The Consumer Reports recently had another article on hearing aids, but I was excited. And then I read, and they are using data from, I guess, subscribers back from 2022. And I said, geez, the market is moving so rapidly, technology is moving so rapidly, so that 2022 data is really meaningless. But it reinforces that Veterans Affairs is the #1 client. I guess veterans can get any hearing aid for free, essentially. They're going through VA. But the second biggest is Costco. And so I'm going to concentrate to a large extent on my experience with Costco, because the cost of hearing aids, you know, Costco versus any audiologist is at least a factor of 2, sometimes 3.
Wow.
And I've been trying to get audiologists to separate the cost of hearing aids from maintenance fees. And they're very reluctant to do that for obvious reasons. You know, they don't want to give their costs. But the fact is, you know, audiologists should be able to give you information. And if they're selling hearing aids, you should be able to compare the price to other places. But they don't want to do that. So we'll see what happens in the future. Now, there's a thing called Hearing Tracker Forum. I don't know how many people have used it or looked at it. You can subscribe to it, and then there are some benefits. But if you want any topic on hearing aids, you can just go into a hearing tracker forum and click search, and you'll find, you know, whole discussions about whatever topic you're interested in. And it's very good because you can get the first initial discussion, and then it tracks, you know, chronologically all of the answers. Now, what I'm kind of seeing, that there is one single hearing aid that stands out from, at least from people who love it, is a Phonak Audio Sphere. Now, it's a brand new, it's out maybe 6 months or whatever, but it's very pricey. And I only found one place that will sell it over the counter. And I have that link for you. It's called onlinehearing.com. They sell it for around 3,000 something, which is cheaper, much cheaper than if you get it from the audiologist's office, but still 3,000. The last I found is 3,500. Now, online hearing, I have had some experience with them, and they're okay. I mean, and they will, you know, refund you the money, refund your fund if you buy something from them, and they have a assistance, but their assistance is really minimal compared to, let's say, to Costco or audiologist's office. But anyway, I found that to be useful. And if you're interested in the Sphere, right now you can buy it from an audiology office or go online, onlinehearing.com. So, any questions on that?
Let's see. What the Phonak Audio Sphere, what is its claim to fame? As in, why is it better than the other ones?
Essentially hearing in noise.
Okay. All right. A friend of mine has the issue of music has become less vibrant in it as his hearing is, as he's losing his hearing. Are there any are you aware of any efforts to try and address that particular issue?
Yes, it has to do with essentially frequency. For example, the hearing aids that I'm using right now, EleHear Beyond, they have a range up to 7,000 hertz. They have a new Pro that goes up to 8,500. And from what I heard from people, that music is much better with the higher frequency range. And that's obvious because, you know, you
Right.
get a lot of more tones at that frequency. But other than that, you know, most hearing aids have modes that says music. Now, you got to be careful because there's music and music. The mode that I found out is music is more or less for rap and kind of things that 20-year-olds were interested in. For classical music, you actually have to ask the audiologist to give you a his app that will give it to you for classical music. And for example, I have had experience with Philips 9050 and going to Lexington Symphony. It was just phenomenal. I mean, the difference between just regular hearing aids and having the mode set for classical music. I mean, it just huge difference. Anyway, so that's the and I know one friend of mine was interested. Are there any hearing aids that go up to 20,000 hertz? Now, most people don't think that you need it, but he was interested in it. And I said, you know, as far as I know, nothing. I mean, the problem is that what happens at the higher frequencies, the drop off is, you know, tremendous. So anyway, let's see. Costco, let's go talk about Costco. And I'm familiar mostly with Costco in Waltham, which I probably think most of you are. It is a dominant player in the U.S. and they sell like 1/3 of all hearing aids. They also have some over-the-counter hearing aids, which I have no familiarity with. But again, being Costco, it's much cheaper than if you go to the manufacturer directly. But I would say, given the cost and the need for, you know, having somebody that you can talk to, and if you go visit Costco, you know, like once a week or once every 2 weeks, you can see the audiologist or the specialist and get tune-ups and things that very well. Usually, it's free. I mean, for example, it's domes. Domes get old, and you can just go there and ask them to replace it, and they'll replace it if you buy the hearing aid from them.
George, we have a
Yes,
question George, we have a question in the chat.
yes.
Is the Sphere particularly good for high frequency sound, and does it have those modes where you set for a specific setting?
It is good for high frequency. How high, I don't know. But I would say if you're interested in, you can get through, you know, the spec sheets and see where they drop off. But again, as I said, everybody's been raving about them, especially in speech recognition and noise. And if that's something, you know, that's important to you, I would say you should look at it, although the cost is a bit high. I think there is a rumor, and I'm sort of going back to Costco. There is a rumor right now. Costco offers 4 hearing aids, and this is a audiology office. Sennheiser, Jabra, Rexton, and Philips. Now, 2 of these are brand new, and I did not discuss them in April. So you can just see 50% of what they're offering is changed in less than 6 months or whatever. Sennheiser is actually a company that was bought by Phonak. And Phonak, of course, is offers the Infinio Sphere. And there is a rumor that, don't hold me to it, that Costco will have the Sphere in November, plus or minus a month. So anyway, I'm waiting for that to happen. And if it does, I will be one of the first ones to want to try it and see if I like it. The prices have gone up a bit in Costco. I don't know if it's, inflation or tariffs, because most of these hearing aids are bought overseas, but now the price is as high as $1,700.
Mhm.
So Sennheiser, which, as I said, a Phonak company, offers hearing aids, but they're like 2 generations older than the Sphere. So, they're fine, but it seems like, this is the first time that I heard that Costco offers something that's older than current or best. But you
George,
can,
just a second, Harry. George, we have a question. Stan states that he has a problem with all earbuds staying in my ears. Do custom aids like those at Costco solve this problem?
they will sell you custom domes. It's an extra, I think, well, it used to be like $40 each, but yes, I think for $40 or $80, it's a good investment. And people say custom modes work for them. And some say it's difference between life and death. So I would say if you're having trouble with hearing aids, you might consider getting domes. And what custom domes are is they basically measure the inside of your ear, and they perfectly fit the dome to fit your ear canal. And ear canals differ from different people. So, I mean, my wife has custom modes, but I can't use them. I tried to see if I could use it, and I couldn't. So anyway, but custom modes are good, especially if you're having trouble with a hearing aid that you bought. Jabra, another big maker that Costco offers, 30 is the newest one that they're offering. You can also buy it online, which isn't Jabra 30, but a Jabra something else. So if you don't have a Costco card, you can get Jabra online. And probably some audiology office will offer it. Now, Rexton is an interesting company. I actually have a pair of, or actually single. I lost one, a hearing aid about 10 years old or more that is a Rexton. And whenever I have where some issues like that, I use it and it still works. But the new one seems to be much upgraded, and I suggest that anybody going to Costco should kind of review all the options. And in order to get the review, there is a video that I have linked there. Do you see that on the screen?
Yes, we do. And for those in attendance here, George will send me the slides, and you'll be able to see and access the link when I put them up on the wiki. Also, there's a question, does Medicare cover hearing aids? And apparently it doesn't.
Well,
There's also
Medicaid,
go ahead.
yeah. Medicare does not cover, however, if you have Medicare Advantage, for example, as I do, they have a $600 per year allotment. Now, that's a pretty good deal of $600. Now, unfortunately, it also includes for hearing aids, dental, and eyeglasses. But if buy eyeglasses 1 year, and then next year you get the hearing aids, you get $600 at least from 2025. Other people who might have other insurance, tell us about it. I mean, people who have Harvard or Tufts, do you get any allotment? It's a question to the group.
Not from Harvard.
Not from Harvard, okay.
Blue Cross Blue Shield Medicare Advantage will offer both a built-in OTC benefit, and you can buy riders.
Okay. So, and I suspect this is evolving very rapidly. And next year, maybe it would be better offers. We'll see.
We have some other questions up there. I'd like to say, Ted, if you're going to talk about frequency response, I'd like to hold that until after the presentation because there's a lot of material to cover. Harry, is yours pertinent to what he's talking about right now?
Yeah, I was last time I believe you spoke about the one that you're wearing now, the Elohir, is that correct?
Yes.
And I seem to remember that was a remarkably inexpensive one that seemed to match the issues that you have with your hearing. Was that also a correct assumption?
Well, I have, as I mentioned there in April, I had the Philips 9050 from Costco for several months. And then I heard about the Elohir, and for $399, I thought it was a worthwhile for me to try because there was, again, videos on it that people really liked it.
Yeah.
Now, to this day, I'm wearing them, and I'm using them right now here in my talk. They're fine. They're not great for music, but at $399, they're a good backup, and I will stand by that. And if in November the Spheres appear in Costco, I will probably buy them, but I'll keep the Elohir as a backup set.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
you.
And yeah, and just people say, well, why do you need a backup? Well, you'll be surprised that sometimes you lose someone or you need some repairs or whatever else. And it's like glasses. You always should have a backup set. Otherwise you have problems. So, okay. And let's see what else. So there are two videos here. One is for the Sphere, kind of a detail analysis, and the other one is to review the 4 offerings that Costco has. And that's, one is 28 minutes long and the other one is an hour long.
All the common items that I should have learned, it should have started with budgeting. And then there's the information about the current consumer reports, the budget that's over $2,000, the budget limit of $2,000 or budget of $750, and also a budget limit of $500. Next screen, please. Okay, contents. If you're looking for a budget limit of 500, there's a link here and there's a title, and in other words, budget limit of $500, best affordable. Uh, I'm not so sure of that. Can we go down to the next slide, please? Common. Okay. You really need to get a hearing test. Everybody knows that. Verify your loss. Um get you're going to need it if you go to any ENT or whatever. They won't even talk to you if you don't have a hearing test. Now, how do you get a hearing test done? The budget. You go to your health insurance, not Medicare or anything else. There's a place called evidence of coverage. You go to the section about what's covered for hearing, and the items are very clear. Depends upon the policy you have. For the most part, Medicare directly does not coverage, does not pay for it. It all depends upon how much your insurance pays. They have limited and how you can get from your pocket free coverage, but you have to do that. Then in
Charlie,
my case, the
Charlie,
next
can you
line
lift up
that
your
says
camera?
basic features that you need to have, like a
Charlie,
little scribble sheet, you must have in your backup hearing appliance, whatever. The advanced features, I love, George. Optional, nice. But if you're starting out, those are just in the way your head spins. You got to make a decision who's going to provide your support. Are you going to provide your support by yourself or some professionals? We will get to the next section on that, and then have to handle a 5-year plan of how you're going to be spending your money, because a lot of this is going to be your money. Next slide, please. Consumer Reports. They have an article in the July-August issue. I subscribe to it. Here's my take on this. The article says how to hear everything, top HA brands. This article is a letdown. Page 51, ratings. Survey based by brand, not by hearing aids. It lists the brands. It does not list any model HAs. It's based on 23 information in letdown, and they're all just by people who haven't really tested the units, they just use them. Consumer Reports did reach out to both Hearing Tracker and Hearing Advisor for both the OTC and the prescription hearing aids. That's all that I have for the Consumer Reports. It's a huge letdown. So next slide.
I agree. I agree.
Pardon?
I plan to, I agree. I plan to actually write to them because
Yeah.
they're useless.
It is what it is. Everybody is cutting corners, and Consumer Reports has done the best they can. There's no way that they themselves can do the testing of the hearing aids, or what I call hearing aid appliances. So it's helpful, and I will refer to this later, but right now, for me, it's just a letdown. Now, I would like to describe what would be a guide for a 5-year budgets for total for the hearing aids support and maintenance. There's an upper limit. Anybody's going to spend over $2,000. Great. Those people that you go to buy from, they'll love you. But most people will either set an upper limit of $2,000 or $1,200 limits. Then you go into the $700 to $800 limits. And then you take a big deep breath and say, gee, what can I get in the $250 to $300 limits? And then you say, I'm totally broke. I have no money. 0 to maybe a couple $100 limit. We got to take a look at each one of them, again, from a newbie, but on the other hand, people may find their own history here. Next slide, please. Okay. If you have a budget over $2,000 that you're going to spend, go to the shop where you get professional providers, usually in an ENT doctor's. George has already described Costco, where you can get complete packages from hearing test all the way to maintenance plan. And then to get a little more information about where you can spend a lot of money, go back to the Consumer Reports July, August issue for the suggestions. They tell you which are the better locations or the so-so there, and they've got a brand survey, but the data still that are still in business. Most of the companies are in business. However, you got a next here, a few distributors have left. OTC has replaced the high fee-based products. Anything over $2,000, wherever you're buying, even through the medical establishments, people are really cutting way back. Next slide, please. Okay, now if you have a budget limit of either I'm going to spend no more than $2,000 or $750, there's less profit with hearing aids adapters. There are more choices. My short list is after I looked at this thing called the 2-year of review. Thank you, George. If I had never seen your previous presentation, I would never have known about it. And it says the top 3 OTC hearing aids 2024, and there's a link. It's to YouTube, no cost, just go get it. Now I cover Forbes on the next slide, please. Okay, if you were to go to Forbes, forget all the other places. There's so many places that review stuff. This does as good a job overall as anybody. And you go to the link that says Best Hearing Aids. There's one Best Hearing Aids of 2025 reviews, Forbes Health. They're not selling anything. They are providing information. In other words, Forbes, the title is Top Recommended Hearing Aids of 2025. You can easily compare pricing on that, ratings and features. Hearing aids, and also hearing aids recommended by audiologists. In other words, Forbes includes the audiologist. Audiologists had better be your friend. You're really going to need them. Next one down, please. Okay, the Forbes article. The one item that they list, there's a company called Audien, Audien. I bought from them. I will not do any business from them because their return policy says we give you your money back. They don't tell you how much they don't give you back. And I fought to the end, $50. They lost me as a customer, so on. However, through Audien, if you buy through them, if you like them, they're fine. If you need an audiologist, you see in their accessories that it's $100. So they do provide audiologist services for $100 per session. Now, you pay for the hearing test before you get to all of this. You make sure you get your questions answered so that you understand what you have on that chart, because that will guide you in addition to which budget you're in, what units you're going to be looking at. Okay. And from there, you will save yourself a lot of time. Ellie here has an audiologist available included with their product. I didn't know how helpful that person was until I actually requested that service, which is included in the $399 or approximately there. And the description that helped the most is that there was software that came along with it. You needed a how-to to use that software to really utilize the Ellie here hearing aid. I highly recommend that portion. So whether your budget is $2,000 limit or $750 limit, follow these items. They will be worth every cent. Next slide, please. Okay. Now, here's something that Steve asked me. You go to these web pages and up pop what I call advertorials. In there, they reference, we will, yeah, the answer is yes. Costco includes their hearing, but bear with me. So you go to an advertorial, it says it implies hearing.com. And then you're asked about these advertorials. And my question is, once you open up that page, go to the very bottom of that page, that ad. It's an advertisement. Read the disclaimers. That just for some sales, like if any advert says ours is better, less than blah, blah, blah. And if it starts to inquire about your info, don't, unless you wish you had really hoped to have left. Because, for instance, as an example, a big advertisement for a thing called Oracle. It's not the database. They put in an I. It sounds like it. Just don't. If you walk through all of their pages and pages, by that time, they know your history. They know how much money you're going to be spending. Go over to Amazon and look at what real people thought about Oracle. They said, this is the worst product they've ever had. Just don't. Skip it, whether you got a budget of 2K, 750, or even zero. That's my suggestion. Next slide, please. Okay, now, once we would assume we've got a budget limit of $500, remember, we've come down from $2,000, $750, now we're hitting the $500 that says, maybe I should look into this. Forbes has an article called Best Affordable Hearing Aids of 2025, according to audiologists. They have a listing of top 5 best affordable hearing aids. It was updated on August 25th. And on the next slide, we will show you the ones that are suggested. Next slide, please. Okay, they start off with the lowest price, the base product of Audien Atom 2, $189. I think I can afford that, until you start looking at the company and the other items. There's one called MD Hearing Neo 297. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Elyhear Beyond, which George and I both have, is $399, and I had to spend some more money for accessories, so I really spent closer to $500, but it's well worth buying. On the other hand, I didn't know about New Sound, which is $470. Remember, we're still saying under $500. Then there's Lexi B1. Insurance companies used to recommend that on a cost sharing basis. My most recent hearing test, the beginning of this year, the audiologist let slip that she knows some of the people who worked at that on that product. They've all been pretty much let go, meaning that if you think you're going to get more advancements buying their product, don't hold your breath. You can look at the details. I would skip that. That's in the video also. Audien Atom 1, $99. That's the basic one. It's underneath the $500 limit. Hey, maybe. What's this all about? Next slide, please. Okay, this is a picture of my Hearing Beyond HSE. The moderate price is $399. I'm wearing them not as much as I should. And the thing that pulled me back, George, these guys are amplifiers from the audiologist, but the way they put their software and all of their parts together, they are headed toward a good appliance. So I just needed to show people that I actually have what I talk about. So I'm not just hand waving. Next slide.
Yeah,
please.
Charlie,
Pardon?
Charlie, I
Yes,
just
yes,
want to
Steve.
make a comment on the Ella here. They now, their frequency limit is 7K. They came up with a new, it's called Ella here Beyond Pro, which goes up to 8,500 hertz.
George, I'm in complete agreement. We're in violent
Yeah.
agreement. What
Yeah.
I'm trying to provide people is remember, we've got to go to the budget of almost $100. I got more work. These are fine if your budget is 700, 500. This is for your next 5 years. Here, bear with me. I appreciate it. No, I have no disagreement. Okay, now we get down to budget, less than 200 bucks. This is below the Ella here. You'll see it says on these ads that pop up, lots of online adverts. My $99, best in $2,000 units. There's less profit with hearing aids. There are more choices, but where are these choices? You have to put together a list of things that you gotta have in a basic hearing aid. And my short list that I created, I watched that tube. Again, I appreciate that George pointed us to that. That's the one that shows the top one, the beginning says, here's what you can get at Costco for under $2,000 and some of the features that you should be looking at. In my case, my basic hearing aid should have a volume control and an on-off. Nothing else. Nothing else. That's my basic thing. So down we can find the top 3 hearing aids. That's the title of it, of that YouTube. Then what's the marketplaces that I can get stuff under 200 bucks that works? Of course, we know about Walmart, but it's Walmart online. If the Apple is in the Consumer Reports, that's a starting item. It's not quite what you think it is. But back to the marketplace, you got to know, they tell you, go to Walmart online, Amazon online, eBay online. And at all of those will wind up pushing you back to the next place. This is a thing called Missing and Overseas Marketplace. It's ALI Express. Steve, is this new to anybody? You heard about Alibaba? Well, that's Alibaba is business to business. AliExpress is business to consumer at consumer pricing. 1 out of 10 people have hearing loss. There's a huge worldwide population. This website shows you all of that stuff. You don't have to go all over all the websites. You've got all the information on there. May I have the next slide, please? And in other words, there's the link. You can just open up a browser, AliExpress, and they change it gateway so they know you're coming from the US. And there's a search bar. And then the search bar, I enter in HYK Health Store. It's like going to eBay, and eBay gives you the products, but they bring them in from different places. So at that point, Steve, how can I show people, or can you show people through a browser and open up just AliExpress or all of that? You don't need all of it, and so on. And go to, that's okay. You're in charge, Steve. Okay.
It's a little difficult for me to do right now.
Okay. Well, take it for a fact. What they're doing is Steve, should I just continue on or wait for you to do something?
Hang on.
Okay. Steve, that's okay. That's all right. You're in charge. You will not be hit
I'll
with
just do
any
this.
viruses. They want to sell, they want you to buy. Okay, now you can close that for the no for the that. In other words, up at the yes, just close that so you can get the search bar behind it or the X up above it, one of the two on that same place. Okay, just click on that. Now, in there, in the search bar, enter in HYK space health, HEALTH, almost space store, STORE, and then the big question mark at the end, or return. Okay, now, Steve, if you scan down slowly or whatever, look at the prices. This is the low end, but the stuff works. And I can describe why.
Note that
Those are the
these are in
prices.
euros and it's about
Okay.
at about 10%.
Yeah. What happens is all of these stores buy you one step away from the manufacturer. There's no way that there's any place in the United States that assembles them. You'll see like there's the Phonak down below, completely different price and so on. So you can make your selections. You get limited amount of information. By the time you come to this web page, you ought to know what you need for hearing, whether it's mild, moderate, bad, and so on, what's available. So we've skipped all the way down from $2,000 budget down to something that's around 50 area, or in other words, and I have one unit that's been running on that battery approaching 2 years. They work. The stuff comes to your house. You charge it up overnight, turn them on, use it for a week. If within a week, if you have a problem, they will exchange it, return it, get your money back. They're a no frills operation. I provide that information going on here. It says, welcome to Global Selling Center. If we buy from Amazon, we get redirected always. If they say a delivery time of 2.5 to 3 weeks, it comes from someplace. Yeah, it's China. But they're the only ones that are making this. Yeah, and tariffs, you pay the piddly amount, the amount that you're spending, unless you can actually buy some of the very expensive ones here too. So I say no reason to buy except to understand that you're one leap away from the hearing aid manufacturer source. Normally, how I stumble over that, I don't remember. Okay. You do not know, however, where this stuff, like in an article, it says, here is best of. If you can change that web page to Chinese, if you can read Chinese, then you can enter in something that says best of. Maybe I should have tried that and I didn't. However, if your budget must be affordable, i.e., less than $100, I mean, $100 over 5 years, then maybe also if you had your budget 500 or 1.2 and over, okay, just about every manufacturer who delivers, it's okay, blah blah, that administration will have armies. Ha ha ha. Oh, love it, love it, love it, so on. But just about all the hearing aids come from somewhere. Yes, newbies need to know more, even if you're experienced. there's a search bar again in a minute there. So how do the over-counter ones compare to AirPods? They work. The AirPods are a teaser starting point. You can do other online searches. The hint is the problem with the AirPods is there are so many AirPods being sold through Amazon. Most of them get returned, and then you buy another one. You don't know if you're getting a new one or a bad one. It's a wait. You've got to, Apple will not have a polished product for at least a year and a half. Who knows? So before we leave this page, I'm saying if you have a budget where you've got to be affordable, less than $100 over 5 years, you should really look at these things. They're not fancy. You can look through all of them. You can make a selection. It isn't just one web page. You go to the bottom of the web page and it says next, next, next. Every Apple product comes in a completely, yeah, sure. Okay. I've read the reviews. Thanks, Dave. Sorry. Don't dispute that. So even if you buy a $500 like the Ella here, my Ella here right now is my high product. My low product, which I get up and go with every day, is something that's less than $50. If I lose it, well, let's go look at the next slide, please. When you get a chance, yes, the difference: U.S. sales versus AliExpress sales. Before buying, the merchandise needs to verify that you is you, not somebody else. They are deathly afraid that their opposition is coming or so on. So the way that they validate you, in my case, I open up Chrome, I log into Google, merchandise, and I say, merchandise, please verify me via Google. They do. And then if you're buying anything, another cheap store, not quite. Okay, yep, many little problems here. Okay, in other words, they ask you to create an account on their website. Never had any issues. It's a way of their bookkeeping, tracking where the item is. It's the valid credit cards, just like US websites. The package is tracked, merchandise gets delivered right to your house. Okay, I have several of these in here, not the low price, but in the $50 range. You don't go buy, imagine buying an audio hearing aid. You open it up, you want to take the time. In the meantime, you're sitting there. In other words, you don't have anything while you're running around, where you have this other thing that's your backup. You use your backup to use it while you go through whatever you have to do. Now, how did I learn about this hearing loss versus the expensive US items? I said right at the beginning, I can take the $50 loss if I can learn before I spend another over $2,000. That's another story of its own. And then get the kicker. The Veterans Administration today, and I know this from a person connection who has had you go to the VA and they'll give you everything for free. They used to. If you want the seniors advanced one, guess what? You got to pony up $1,000, $2,000. However, if you get the low cost ones, which is exactly what I'm looking at here on this HYK Health store, I'm sure there are others, and they gave the person, here's your free hearing aid. It's the one in the $50 range, and they gave them a toothpick to maintain the similar. However, there's a little gotcha. And the person who got this through the VA, if they can't take care of this with a toothpick to keep it clean, all you have is one place. And if you can't, and if you don't handle it, you come back, you make a $50 copay to VA, whoever fixes the unit. It's not free anymore. Everything is cutting. Before we leave this slide, is there any questions popping up in anyone's head about buying? I have never had any viruses. I've no items you can cancel. I mean, you name it. It's the equivalent of dealing with Amazon, but yes, you're dealing with, I don't want to say Mother China, but you're dealing with the merchants. The merchants there are putting these things together. You open them up, there's a little battery. If you take your expensive hearing aids and the battery eventually only so many times, and you send it back and they say, replace the battery in one, that's $50 plus whatever labor, just the battery, or and other items and so on. So at this point, it's not a bad idea to have something sitting there. You pop it into, they provide you a charger, which I have a picture of, and you plug it into a USB port, and you're up and running while you're taking care of whatever is going bad with your expensive unit that you have. I have not had the pleasure of doing the before rechargeables. I've only done the rechargeables, so I can describe.
Charlie,
Maybe,
Charlie,
anybody questions, George?
can we hold off on the questions here and let you finish? Because it looks like you got a few more slides and we're getting close to the end of the meeting. It'd be good for you to go through all your slides and then address the questions. Does that make sense?
Uh,
Can we continue with your slides and then
Yeah, well, let's
do
go to the
questions?
slides. Okay. The budgets on, right, if it's $200, okay, depending upon which, in other words, you actually make a purchase. It comes to your house. You've got to charge up the HA on the provided charger. I bought multiples because I thought the chargers would crap out. They don't crap out. The cable to USB-A, they give you one, it's about a foot long. I haven't had any problems. You use the HA, if the unit is a problem within a week, then a return exchange. Okay, I have one, as I said, and the rechargeable battery is going toward the 2-year point. I was wondering, when is it going to finally crap out? Have no clue. I keep using it. Okay, the advanced here's an example. If you go back to that HIYK store, it's called, here's an example of a product: advanced digital rechargeable hearing aids for seniors with noise canceling mini CIC hearing device with the charging case. $42.07, model number right off of the description. And I recommend, and if you're the first time, the price, they may drop the price because you would be a new buyer, or they have sales, or you name it, as a backup, or the newbie starting out. Don't start out with the $2,000 or the $1,000 or even the $500. In fact, the older the people, they don't want to see one of these super advanced ones. This has noise canceling. The most hearing aids also function Bluetooth. You have to have the software. You can't do a generalization of most. It depends upon what you buy. Okay, the Oticon ones were designed for to be used with Bluetooth. If you look here also, you can find the ones that are maybe a little bit more, that are higher cost, like $200-300, that mimic. Guess where they copied all of that from? They make them for all the companies in the United States. They've got the information. There is no reason. My next one, there's my little in-ear $40. It's basic. It's got an on-off switch and it's got a volume control for each individual ones. And the reason for that is you may have one ear is different than another ear. And when I started out with Audion, I found that one of them would not stay in my ear. I returned them because I could not use their products. They give you some of these, seem like, well, okay, all right. Try them, Judy. Good luck. I don't recommend. But in any case, so if on the other hand, if the interest goes over $2,000, go back to that slide, AliExpress.com, which eventually gets redirected to that. And there's a search bar at the bottom of the page. And search bar, enter in the search bar, hearing aids, not the store. When you get connected, go look at the bottom of the return website and then figure out how much time you're going to have to examine all else. In other words, this is from all the manufacturers. I don't have that much time. There are an awful lot of people with hearing loss. And, the overseas manufacturing provide merchandise worldwide, regardless of tariff, shipping. Yeah, you got considerations of warranty, repair services, and I'm pushed along, which is good. Now, here's a little tip. Watch out giving youngsters piggyback rides. Anybody heard about this? The rides can become very expensive. Maintenance or updating hearing aids. Get a professional audiologist to update, change the hearing domes if things sound funny. You may think the hearing aids are crappy, but there are other problems. Over time, those hearing aids have a wire part that goes on the side, goes way deep into the ear, and putting them in and out, they break or something. That part is approximately $60 where you purchase the hearing aids. It's not the wire. Too much details for this presentation. Need to check Facebook. I can only post so much. A workaround, the docs need to be rewritten. And then one last slide, Steve. I attempted to introduce myself. I'm on my third year. It is possible I have hearing aids with over-the-counter ones, even at a very limited budget. There are hearing aids with features like George has put on. They're lovely. And then the features, they're like an appliance, like a refrigerator. Select the hearing aid that fit your budgets on a 5-year plan. Another time when I get trained, again, using Zoom and so on, there should be time to look at a basic hearing aid maintenance, what you do, or the makeup of an advanced appliance like the EleHear. George, I'm sure, has done that. I was ready to kick that EleHear out until I learned. It's a do-it-yourself world. Thank you for listening, or post more questions. I'll try to answer them. Is that okay, Steve?
Oh, that's fine. Thank you for this.
And
We have
anybody
a
wants,
number of questions.
I'll
We have a
send you
number
the
of questions.
PowerPoint. You can share it with whoever needs it.
I think I have it already,
Oh, that's right.
and I will put it up on the wiki page. I've put the wiki page link in
Boy, I
the
see a lot of
chat.
Oh, okay. We've lost
So,
that many
we have-
people, or-
Let
yeah.
me go through some of the questions here. Maybe you or George can comment on these. Do most hearing aids also function as Bluetooth headphones? And do they include a microphone to support two-way audio?
The answer to that is, if you're buying through AliExpress, you're doing it. In other words, there's no profit. You'll find very few shops, if anybody, that wants to fix them. My experience has been.
We're not talking about that one. We're talking about, do they function as Bluetooth headphones?
Did I misunderstand?
George, do you have an idea there? It's the previous
That
one.
whatever you buy, you pretty much are your own maintainer, unless you're buying the expensive ones. And some of them, in other words, a $50 unit, once at a certain point, and you know it isn't full of wax. And even then, here's your toothpick. Here's how to get it out.
Oh,
It's a use it, and well,
Okay, hold on, Charlie, stop a second, please. We were asking about, maybe George, if you have a hearing aid, do they function as a Bluetooth headphones with a microphone and support two-way audio? George, do you know? You're muted, George.
I think
George, you're muted.
Steve, my mind wandered. Do you want to summarize?
Just hold on a second, Charlie.
Okay.
I want to have George reply to this one here.
Okay.
Yeah.
George, go ahead.
As far as I know, all of the hearing aids, certainly here at 500 and above, have Bluetooth connections. What kind of a connection, that's another story, because the more expensive ones have proprietary Bluetooth, which drives me crazy because I have a PC and I use it all the time, and I don't want to spend, $2,000 plus another 200 to be able to connect to a PC. So I would say it's very important for you to look at the kind of hearing aid Bluetooth. Phonak allows you to connect to any Bluetooth device. Most of the other ones like Jabra, Sennheiser, and Philips do not. So you got to be careful if you want to use the Bluetooth. And I personally consider Bluetooth to be, essentially a must for a hearing aid. My father had a hearing aid that had a switch and goes to volume, and you can buy that for $50. But quite frankly, I think you're just wasting your time and money.
Can I
buy
interrupt a little
coffee.
bit?
George, your Bluetooth, you're right. Bluetooth is actually good. I got it. I use my telephone. It has the Bluetooth app in it, and I can adjust each earplug, for what I want, and especially for the TV, because you could focus it to come from the front, so you don't have to have the TV blasting.
I'm going to jump in here because we have some other questions and we're short on time.
Steve, can I
Ken
just
is asking if
just
there are.
interrupt briefly? My presentation was for newbies, and somebody that has had hearing problems and didn't realize that had problems when they first start out. I do not recommend them jumping into the expensive units. It's much easier to learn on a $50 unit that has none of the additional features. You got enough problems making sure of how that works. Then eventually $50 will set you on the correct path, whether you're $500, $750. You do not need to jump over $2,000 to start. It's like, do you give a kid a brand new car, or do you give them something to start, and then they can, upgrade themselves?
Okay.
So that's my
We got it,
point.
Charlie.
Next, sorry.
We got it, Charlie. I have another question I'd like to have answered. Are there
Okay.
hearing aids that work very well in noisy environments like restaurants? Do you have experience with hearing aids that work well in restaurants or noisy environments? George, I wanted to give George a chance to answer.
Yeah, both
I would
George.
say that the Phonak ones work very well. The Philips work fine. And here, I find, for example, has a directional mode that, let's say you're at a party of 8 people and you're talking to one person, you can set it so you can focus on that one person rather than hearing everybody on the side. So the answer, but I would say that for us, the group here who's technically inclined, I would not bother getting something that's basically an amplifier because you want something more very quickly. And, it's sort of to me, is these other options are very important. Bluetooth I use 90% of the time. And so having something without a Bluetooth, I would find it useless.
That's not
So
true.
that's my,
I- I followed in your footsteps and I learned Ella here in a different way until I got to use their audiologist. And the audiologist sent me a how to use the software. And you can set via Bluetooth the Ella here so that you can cover wide range 360 degrees coverage or person to person. It's in there, but it's not really spelled out unless somebody shows you that says, gee, do you realize you could do the following? I'm very grateful. I can do that. So
Okay, one more thing here.
next, Steve.
An earlier question, does Costco include audiologists and do they take insurance or do they just do hearing tests? Does anyone have experience with Costco? George?
I have, and they like right now in Waltham, they have one audiologist. Her name is Sandra, I don't know, Sandra something, and then they have 3 specialists. I find the audiologist is more knowledgeable technically, but the specialists are just fine as well for doing ordinary tune-ups and so forth. And that's included. I mean, I have Rexon, they're 10 years old, and they'll still replace the domes for me free of charge. So
Yeah.
I
Now,
personally
on another-
find Costco to be
Yeah.
good.
The brief
No,
question about
ano-
a pop-up here. Do I use HA hearing aids now? Yes, 3 years.
Now, an earlier question was, what's it like to go out in the rain with hearing aids? Are they very sensitive if a drop of rain gets on them, or can they handle some dampness?
The $50 units, I can do just about everything except one of my problems was to listen to people speak in a very soft voice, like my son-in-law. Everything else, I'm perfectly happy with the $50 units because I don't have to worry about where's the phone, where's the Bluetooth, I'm out of range. It is a
Okay.
go-to unit as far as I'm concerned.
George, do you have experience with hearing
yes,
aids and rain? Go ahead.
IP, you look for the IP rating, and the better ones have IP68, which means that you can dump the hearing aid in water for half an hour and it will still work okay. So, if you sweat a lot, you want something that has a high IP because your hearing aids very quickly will deteriorate.
So you're saying then, George, that if you're
Yes.
getting prepared to give a presentation like this and you might get nervous and sweat a lot, you might want to make sure you have a
Yeah.
hearing aid that has a higher IP.
Correct.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
My only summary, Steve, is I knew that there was not enough time just to cover this. I tried to put it into a Reader's Digest version. There could be another Reader's Digest version to answer the questions. What does it take to maintain the low cost units versus what I call appliances? Because there's only so much the manufacturer does. Then it really comes down to the software that controls it, what it does.
Ted, I think you have a question. You're muted, sir.
You see these ads on television all the time with celebrities of various kinds. The one I keep seeing on the evenings when I'm watching some of the programming on cable channels is Joe Namath. And he said he's been wearing hearing aids for a long time. I think he did have hearing aids even when he was still playing, I think, football. And those are very cheap, and he claims they work. Can anybody trust something like that, or is that just flammery?
One word, don't, don't.
That is
I
one
wish
word.
you hadn't.
Because those are the 250 or something price range. I think they when they're on sale, and they go on sale very frequently, apparently, whenever he
I
runs that
repeat.
ad.
Don't.
No.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, the other one would be the comment I had earlier on about the frequency response. I put into the chat the 88th key of a piano is 4 kilohertz, a little bit more.
But there's
And-
harmonics that you add on to that,
Right, but
right.
the question is
so
what,
that it makes the sound bright and
correct.
sharp
So
and clear.
4 kilohertz is the fundamental. If you put 3 harmonics on the fundamental, the first odd
First harmonic,
one,
the second,
the
or the
third,
fourth,
yeah,
8.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
You can make a pretty good square wave, and that's pretty much what you end up with when you hear things that have fundamentals and some harmonics. There's hardly anybody, at any time in their life who needs to hear much above 12 to 15 kilohertz. I mean, that gets you into the range of dogs and bats and things like that.
Well, I've known a few dogs.
Yeah.
Um,
And
okay, just to
so
wrap
I'm
up a
wondering
second
if
here. Oh.
if when they quote the range as George was quoting, are they quoting a hard cutoff or a kind of a 3 dB down, 6 dB down, or something like that? Because we know that, of course, you can't cut it off hard.
It is a pretty hard drop off. I mean, if you ever have seen an audiologist and they will take your audiogram and then try to match the hearing aid to approximate the audiogram, you can see how the different things are done. And the more channels you have, the better the sound. You can do it with 3 channels, but I would say don't even bother unless you have like 24 channels.
I'd like to thank both George and Charlie for their presentations. This was very helpful. Thank you.